I'm sure you guys know about the elderly woman that was found at the scene.
Oh my God, that was horrifying. That was horrifying.
Okay. Now there's a couple of videos of you kind of peeking over the edge of the couch and videotaping her. Well, when was that all done?
That was on the same night. Why did I lie about anything?
What you just heard was the exact moment a 17-year-old teenager completely broke down under the weight of the evidence against him. A crime so brutal it almost defies human understanding. The murder of a 98-year-old woman. But here's the disturbing part. What came before that breakdown? For more than half an hour, this kid played the role of the innocent, horrified teenager. He lied with a straight face, acted confused, even pretended to be scared of the crime itself. And for a while, he almost pulled it off. Today, we're going to peel back that interrogation, minute by minute, and uncover the subtle tricks, the psychological games, and the manipulative charm of someone who looks like a regular kid, but thinks like a predator.
I don't know, probably like 10, 15 minutes.
And then from the time you woke her up to the time you ended up on top of her, choking her, how long did that whole part take?
That was probably like 5 minutes.
So pretty quick. She tries to get the phone, you try and stop her. You guys struggle to the floor, and you end up on top of her with your hands on her neck. And you're pushing and squeezing. You have your hand over her mouth at the same time?
Well, my hand on her mouth was on the couch.
Okay.
And then...
Before we get into this interrogation, let me set the stage for you, because the context is what makes it all so disturbing. It was April 5th, 2018, when the family of 98-year-old Margaret Douglas reported her missing. She lived alone in Wadsworth, a small, quiet town in Ohio. Margaret wasn't just surviving at her age, she was thriving. Independent, sharp, and counting down to a milestone birthday. She was only 2 years away from hitting 100. When police first checked her home, nothing stood out. No broken windows, no forced entry, no obvious signs of trouble. But the very next day, during a second sweep, they stumbled upon something no one was prepared for. Hidden away in a closet, they found Margaret's body. The medical examiner later confirmed the worst. She had been attacked and strangled. For a while, the investigation hit a wall. Detectives had no real leads. But then, a series of smaller crimes in the area started to form a pattern. A stolen car arranged through Grindr, a few break-ins on local construction sites, and the same name kept surfacing, Gavin Ramsay. Just 17 years old, already on the radar for petty theft. What changed everything was what investigators discovered on his phone, buried behind a secret app, locked with the password murder, were videos Gavin had recorded himself during the attack on Margaret Douglas. But here's the part that still gets me. In the beginning, no one in law enforcement brought him in as a murder suspect. On paper, he was just another kid involved in neighborhood thefts. He even showed up with his parents, thinking this was just going to be a routine conversation about burglaries. What those detectives didn't know yet was that they were sitting across from a teenager hiding the darkest secret imaginable, and that he was about to test how far his manipulation could go. So now, let's step inside that interrogation room. Let's watch, minute by minute, how a 17-year-old tried to play innocent, outsmart investigators, and control the narrative, until it all came crashing down.
Struggle to the floor, you end up on top of her with your hands on her neck. And you're pushing and squeezing. You have your hand over her mouth at the same time?
Well, my hand on her mouth was on the couch.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, rolled or something off the couch.
So she like fighting back with you then, trying to struggle, and then you guys went down?
Yeah. I think on her way down is when we got ripped.
Did But you don't remember ripping her panties? How long did you stay there before you put her in the closet?
That was probably like 30 minutes. I just kind of sat there and I didn't know like what was going on. Like I was still in shock from it, I guess. And then I checked my phone and it said it was like 4 something, and I knew my mom had to get up at 5 for work.
Immediately, he regrets deceiving the police. One would even think that he would avoid doing so in the future. However, when questioned by the detective about the duration he spent in the house, he falsely claims it was only 30 minutes. Yet, the timestamps on the videos from his phone revealed that he was inside the house for several hours, once again proving his dishonesty.
Was there any adrenaline with that? No.
It was like adrenaline and shock at the same time. So like, 1 second I'm like, I don't know, adrenaline.
You know, and the next thing you know, it's like
With
overload.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
So what did you do with your gloves when you left?
I threw those away
Where at?
in the trash can.
At home. Because there's a glove there. Could you have dropped one?
There was a glove there. I guess I did drop one.
There was purple stuff on it. What was the purple stuff that was on it? I get it that there's a whole piece of this that you don't understand why you do. Okay? I understand the whole sexual piece that you don't understand. And I get that. Did the purple stuff have to do with the whole sexual piece that you don't understand why you do? No. And is that the same time that you were taking some of those pictures?
Yeah, and after I took those pictures, I was like, what?
That's when the shock set in.
Yeah, it's like, what am I doing?
So it was adrenaline all the way up until then. And then the whole shock took over the overload. Is that right?
It sounds right down.
Back home. It's hard. She may have asked this, but did you mean to hurt Margaret like that?
No. No.
Or was it just the shock?
The shock.
And you said you just started doing it, and by the time you realized that she had died, it was too late.
Nothing I could do.
That way you punched the wall at the school. Was that main frustration? How did that chunk out of your hand? You don't say it hurt.
Sorry, I think I broke my hand or my pinky. I didn't even care. I was just mad because I finished my test in math, and then I saw a text from that said the cops have my phone. I'm like, great. And then Miss rings, and I'm like, that's for me, I guarantee it. I'm looking at her, and she looks at me, and she like go to the office. I'm like, great.
That's the break-in type stuff. It was what was that? What?
Yeah.
Okay.
What the?
Yeah. The church. Yeah. Sorry.
Did you guys go in the church? No. You
No.
didn't set off the alarm without messing with the windows?
Yeah. Like,
Were you going to go into the church before the alarm went off?
I don't really know what we were gonna do at the church. I didn't even hear the alarms go off. He's like, dude, the alarms are going off. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I listened. I'm like, we should probably go. And we did.
Did you feel weird going out, like, given some cars are trying to break that place, knowing what you've already been through in Margaret's house? That seems strange. Or just kind of like the thought of the past thought. It's over, you can't change it.
What we just witnessed are moments that deserve some serious reflection, because this behavior pattern isn't unique. We've seen it before with other predators. First, that instant flip when detectives drop the video evidence. Notice how Gavin goes from complete denial to, "Why did I lie about anything? That was stupid," in seconds? That phrase is telling. He's not regretting the murder. He's regretting lying when he knew the evidence existed. It's pure strategic thinking, not conscience kicking in. Then there's this chilling clinical detachment in his 8-minute confession. He describes murdering a 98-year-old woman like he's explaining how he fixed a broken appliance. Listen to his language. "I didn't know what to do. That happened. I was in shock." Everything centers on him, his feelings, his reactions, his experience. Margaret doesn't exist as a human being in his narrative. She's just a prop in his story. It's the exact same detachment we saw with Ted Bundy describing his crimes, or Jeffrey Dahmer talking about his 17 victims, like lab specimens. What really gets to me is how he keeps manipulating even during his confession. He's still lying about crucial details when he knows they have the videos. He frames everything as accidental. By the time I realized what I was doing, it was too late. But that's complete bullshit. His secret app called Dark with the password murder. Those 15 minutes of watching her, filming in real time. Everything screams premeditation. This compulsion to lie even when it's pointless? That's classic Dennis Rader behavior. BTK did the exact same thing, still trying to control the narrative even after getting caught. The most disturbing part is that app he created. Filming your crimes as they happen means you're not in some uncontrolled rage state. You're mentally present enough to operate your phone, frame shots, hit record. It's the mentality of trophy collectors like Gary Ridgway or Israel Keys, just updated for the smartphone era. And he's only 17 with this level of sadistic calculation. Criminologists know that when psychopathic behavior, this extreme, shows up this early, the prognosis is particularly grim. Edmund Kemper started young too, but even he didn't have the systematic coldness we're seeing with Gavin. What jumps out from these 8 minutes is the complete absence of genuine humanity. Even hardened criminals sometimes express some form of regret for their victims eventually. Not this kid. He stays locked in manipulation and self-pity mode right to the end, just like Richard Ramirez, who never showed a shred of remorse. This sequence shows us someone whose moral wiring is fundamentally broken. We're not looking at a teenager who made a terrible mistake under extreme emotional duress. We're looking at a calculating predator who simply got caught. Let's continue.
You ever told your counselor about any of the thoughts that you have?
I did a lot, and she didn't. She started with trying to treat the depression first, and it wasn't working for a little bit. I still tried to kill myself, but I didn't.
That's not right.
No, I didn't. I don't care what happens to me. Like, honestly, I don't. It's what happened. Like, what would it do to my mom? If, like, I killed myself and that my mom said she couldn't go another day if I died. I'm not gonna kill myself because of that.
So it's more for her, not for you.
Yeah, I don't care about me. I don't.
You do. People care about you.
Other people might, but I just.
It's because you're dealing with so much. That's why you don't. Deep down, you still do. Because people that truly don't anymore, they don't want to do it. You have the heart. That's why.
The night you were out at Margaret's, had you drank or smoked anything? Done anything that night?
No, I was actually sober that night. Which is another reason why I smoke weed and I drink. Because I can't handle myself when I'm sober. Or I can't, like, comprehend. I don't even know the word to use. My thoughts when I'm sober are dark. When I'm high, they're like good thoughts.
Had you ever thought about harming anybody before or taking someone's life before?
Not like planning it out, but like, oh, I'm so mad I kill someone right now, like that kind of thing.
But you never imagined yourself actually doing it?
No, I could never vision myself.
Like, wonder what would
We did. I couldn't, like, I don't know, like some stuff you think about yourself in that situation, like, yeah, I could see that. And then, like, I think about a car crash or something, me dying in a car crash, I'd be like, yeah, I see that. Something else that doesn't necessarily involve me dying, or even, like, me being injured. Like, yeah, but I think about me hitting someone, I'm like, I can't see that. I can't.
If she was here, what would you say to her?
Like, what do you mean?
If she was here alive in front of you, what would you say to her?
I'm sorry. That was never meant to happen. If I could take it back, I would.
You're gonna run?
Because the only reason I didn't yesterday is because I knew my mom just took out my money for my insurance. And I knew my insurance doubled. So I had like no money. I just needed gas money to get somewhere. And I didn't care what happened. I don't know, I think I was headed down towards like Tennessee and keep going down through there.
You knew that this was gonna come out?
At some point. And I knew if I left, there'd be no coming back ever. And that's, you know, I don't know, I kept having that thought every time I felt like I was ready to actually leave. I'm like, well, I literally can't ever talk to my family again if I leave.
Well, Gavin, I'm glad it's gonna stop here. I'm glad this didn't go any further. Because I don't know that you would have been able to change on your own.
No, I wouldn't, and I don't know, I had a pretty clear picture of what the next year looked like if I ran.
Unfortunately, I think you would have hurt more people. Was that in your plan?
I mean, that wasn't in my plan, but I could see that happening, but all I could see was me dead if I ran.
Think we're ready to move along here?
Yeah, can I use the restroom?
Yeah, we'll get you. An officer take you out, okay? Any more of that?
This final stretch reveals the true depth of his psychological profile, and it's incredibly disturbing when you analyze the patterns. First, these manufactured apologies. I'm sorry that was never meant to happen. Notice the language here. It's deliberately vague and distancing. He's not saying, I'm sorry I hurt Margaret Douglas, or I'm sorry for what I did to that elderly woman. It's this passive construction. That was never meant to happen. Like the incident was some unfortunate accident rather than something he actively chose to do. This is classic manipulation behavior. Other notorious cases like Ted Bundy showed similar patterns during interviews, expressing regret, but always in abstract, impersonal terms that avoided taking direct responsibility. Bundy would say things like, I'm sorry those things happened, rather than, I'm sorry I hurt those people. The phrase, I can take it back I would, is pure performance. If this person truly felt remorse, we would have seen genuine empathy for Margaret as a human being at some point during this interrogation. We never do. This is theater designed to generate sympathy. Now here's where it gets really concerning, his escape plan. This Saturday, like 5 days from now, I was gone. I was leaving. This wasn't some panicked impulse. He had calculated that he had a 5-day window before the investigation would close in. He'd mapped out a route to Tennessee and beyond. The casual way he discusses it shows the same cold calculation we see in organized offenders. This reminds me of cases like Israel Keyes, who had detailed preparation methods and escape routes planned, or Dennis Rader, who would disappear for periods after incidents, having calculated exactly how long the investigation heat would stay focused. But here's the thing. Those individuals were experienced offenders who'd learned from multiple cases. This person is 17 and already thinking like a seasoned predator. What he says next is the most concerning part. I don't know, I had a pretty clear picture of what the next year looked like if I ran. When pressed, he admits he would have hurt more people. The detective asks if that was his plan, and he responds, "It wasn't in my plan, but I could see that happening." That response reveals his self-awareness. He understands his own dangerous tendencies. He recognizes that if left unchecked, he would have escalated. Edmund Kemper had similar moments of self-awareness in interviews, discussing how he knew his behavior would escalate if he wasn't stopped. The difference is Kemper said this after multiple incidents. This person is expressing this awareness after his first known case. This isn't speculation or bravado. It's him telling us Margaret Douglas was practice. Many serial offenders follow escalation patterns, starting with smaller incidents that progress to more serious crimes. But they typically don't have the self-awareness at 17 to articulate that they're on a trajectory toward repeat offending. What makes this particularly disturbing is the matter-of-fact delivery. There's no horror in his voice when discussing future potential victims. No, thank goodness, I was caught before I could hurt anyone else. It's delivered with complete emotional detachment. The investigators clearly recognize the severity of what they're dealing with. You can hear it in their responses. They realize they haven't just caught a teenage offender. They've intercepted someone before they could escalate further. This final sequence shows us someone who had crossed the line from potential threat to active predator. Margaret wasn't just a victim. She represented his transition from fantasy to action. And if those investigators hadn't connected the evidence when they did, there likely would have been additional victims. That's the most sobering takeaway from this entire interrogation. We're watching them stop an escalating pattern before it could fully develop. So what happened to Gavin Ramsay after this interrogation? On January 3rd, 2019, he received the maximum possible sentence: life in prison without the possibility of parole for the aggravated offense against Margaret Douglas. On top of that, he got an additional 10 years each for aggravated burglary, kidnapping, and abuse of a corpse. For Margaret's family, this felt like justice. The maximum penalty for someone who had taken away their 98-year-old loved one who was just months away from celebrating her 100th birthday. But here's where the story takes another troubling turn. Just 3 years after sentencing, Ohio passed new legislation that allows anyone who committed their crimes under age 18 to become eligible for parole after serving 25 to 35 years, which means Gavin could potentially walk free sometime in his 40s or early 50s. Think about that for a moment. Based on everything we've analyzed in this interrogation, his complete lack of remorse, his admission that he would have hurt more people, his calculated planning and documentation of his crimes, this is someone who could be back on the streets while still in the prime of his life. This case teaches us some sobering lessons about human nature and the criminal justice system. We've watched a masterclass in psychological manipulation, where a 17-year-old demonstrated the emotional intelligence to lie, manipulate, and perform for over an hour, all while sitting on evidence of one of the most heinous crimes imaginable. What makes this interrogation so valuable for understanding criminal psychology is how clearly it shows us the difference between genuine remorse and calculated performance. Every tear, every emotional breakdown, every confession was strategically deployed to serve his interests. The investigators did incredible work here. They identified the inconsistencies in his emotional responses. They gathered ironclad evidence, and they methodically broke down his defenses until he had no choice but to admit the truth. Without their expertise, Margaret Douglas might have become just another unsolved case, and Gavin would have been free to escalate to his next victim. Margaret Douglas lived through 98 years of American history. She survived the Great Depression, World War II, saw humans land on the moon, watched the rise of the internet age. She deserved to reach her 100th birthday, surrounded by people who loved her. Instead, she became the practice victim for someone who viewed human life as completely expendable. This case reminds us why we need skilled investigators, why we need robust forensic science, and why some people simply cannot be rehabilitated. The most chilling moment in this entire interrogation isn't the confession itself. It's when Gavin calmly admits he would have hurt more people if he hadn't been caught. For those of us studying true crime, cases like this serve an important purpose. They help us recognize the warning signs of dangerous individuals, understand the tactics predators use to manipulate others, and appreciate the work law enforcement does to protect society from people who view the rest of us as prey. Margaret Douglas got justice in court, but her story serves as a reminder that evil doesn't always look like what we expect. Sometimes it looks like a crying 17-year-old boy who's really good at pretending to be human. If this deep dive into criminal psychology was valuable to you, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that like button. It helps the algorithm know that this kind of educational true crime content is what you want to see more of. Drop a comment below and let me know what stood out to you the most from this interrogation. Was it that moment when he instantly cracked after seeing the video evidence? His complete lack of genuine remorse? Or maybe that chilling admission that he would have hurt more people? I read every comment, and your insights often help me notice details I missed. If you want to see more psychological breakdowns of interrogations like this one, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. I've got several more cases lined up where we'll analyze how investigators break down these psychological facades and get to the truth. This particular interrogation footage came from court records that were made public during the trial proceedings. The full interrogation is several hours long, but I've focused on the most psychologically revealing moments to help us understand what we're really looking at when someone like this tries to manipulate their way out of consequences. And if you found this analysis helpful, consider sharing it with someone who's interested in understanding criminal behavior. The more we understand about how predators think and operate, the better equipped we are as a society to recognize these warning signs and protect potential victims. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next breakdown, where we'll dive into another case that reveals the dark side of human psychology.